Good morning, St. Petersburgians, or good afternoon, good evening. You are here for our WordPress Meetup. We're going to get right into the slides. Thank you, folks, for all joining us this evening. And we shall start off with the slides right now. You are here for our Ask Us Anything Crowdsourcing WordPress Support Workshop. I'm going to mute you guys over there because I'm hearing some funny noises. Tonight we are going to take your messages and everything. So tonight, you're at WordPress St. Petersburg. We meet on the first and third Tuesdays monthly. We won't be back at the Suncoast Developers Guild for probably until June. Whoa. Okay, thank you. So anyway, first and third Tuesdays of the month. We will not be back at the Suncoast Developers Guild until June right now. They're still going to be closed for May. Our meetup is at meetup.com, WordPress St. Petersburg. Our website is https wptampabay.org. We have a Slack chat, a Facebook group, and our meetups are all listed there at our website. And we are a member of the WordPress Tampa Bay network. That means we have 3 other groups presently that also meet in Tampa Bay, in Brandon, and in Tampa and St. Pete. Okay. We meet on the Tuesdays. Tampa meets on Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month. Unfortunately, they are not meeting right now while we're in COVID quarantine. And Brandon is also not meeting right now while we're in COVID quarantine. So our upcoming meetups and events are actually on our website at wptampabay.org/events. We're going to go ahead and highlight the next 2 upcoming talks. In May 19th, we'll be doing an advanced Gravity Forms workshop, Ask Me Anything live stream. It's hosted by Travis Lopes. He's a developer at Gravity Forms and for Gravity, and he'll be here to answer all of your amazing Gravity Forms questions. So this is the time to bring in any of those. On May and June 16th, we'll be doing Gutenberg or Bust. We'll be revisiting the block editor in WordPress. We did a talk on this probably about 2 years ago, before Gutenberg had really moved into the mainstream. Now that they've kind of become a little more fleshed out with how it works, we're going to revisit it again and talk about how to use it, possibly instead of a page builder. So again, also the first Tuesday of the month in May and the first Tuesday of the month in June. Well, actually, this is the first Tuesday of the month in May. The first Tuesday of the month in June is our Ask Us Anything as well. So we will also put those on the calendar. We are looking for speakers. We need if you know anything about WordPress, web design, front end or back end, plugin reviews, theme reviews, anything pertinent to web design or web development or getting your website out there as a business entrepreneur, please let us know. Hang on a second. I'm getting a lot of extra feedback from somebody on my call. So, okay. We don't need you as a speaker. If you've never spoken public before, there's no problem. You can live stream. You don't have to look at the people and have them looking at you. This is also great for your resume, your LinkedIn, or your Twitter. And if you are interested in speaking, please come to wptampabay.org/speakers/call. Okay, our format for tonight, our code of conduct for tonight. There are no stupid questions except the ones you did not ask. We have a chat box on the YouTube, so please ask your questions there. We'll also be pulling questions from our RSVPs on the meetup as well. So we'll probably hit those first and then start answering questions from the chat. We'll be limiting our answers and responses to about 10 to 15 minutes per question so that we don't take up the entire call on just one question. If you do feel like we haven't answered your question within like 10, 15 minutes, you probably should be hiring a consultant, and we'll route you to that direction if we think that's the case. Everyone gets to speak tonight, but there's no crosstalk. That just basically means don't anybody talk over each other. We'll try not to do that here. So that's pretty much it, guys. We are back. I'm going to introduce our 3 up at the moment is Jen Novak, Travis Lopes, and myself. Let me see if I can get Miss Elaine in here. And I'll fix all of our name tags. People. Okay. That didn't work. Hang on. Travis. Jen. Lane. There we go. Now I'll just fix all your names. That wasn't so bad. Okay. All right, guys. Let's see what we've got out there question-wise. Going back to the browser real fast. We have a question from the Meetup. Come on, browser screen. All right, question from the Meetup. Neil Zipper asks, I'm new to WordPress and looking for a simple blog theme to deploy myself. What essential features should I look for? Contact forms, security, etc. Is there benefits to theme subscriptions like Divi? How do you guys feel about that one? We have a document on this one. I mean, we have an article where we talked about choosing a theme for your site. I'm going to actually pop over to our demo real quick, and after I find it, and then I will show you where that is. So, but while I'm doing that, does anyone have any ideas on that one?
I was just looking for the question again. There's quite a few parts there. For themes, I basically would just look for something simple to start. I would maybe suggest that you look at GeneratePress, Astra, Ocean WP, just something that's simple, basic, that you can build on and style how you want. That's where I would suggest starting. For builders, I think probably the best thing is probably to do is to get into those themes and see maybe what you're lacking first. If there's components that you think that you need, if there's design elements that you aren't able to build yourself or that you desire in one of those builders, before you spend money on one of those builders, just see that maybe that theme has the things that you need already. Between the theme and between Gutenberg, you might find that you already have what you need if it's something, if it's just a simple website. From there, then I would check out the builders. Divi has its own theme, so I probably would stick to one of those themes or a simple theme, and then maybe look at Beaver Builder or Elementor, one of those builders if you're specifically in need of a builder.
And we did a talk on this back in April 5th in 2018. I'm going to pop up that particular page real quickly. And it's called Choosing WordPress Themes and Website Review. I'm going to also cut and paste the link and put it in our chat and then pop it over the screen so that you guys can see it. That's the actual link for that, is Tampa Bay event, Choosing WordPress Themes Website Review. This covers quite a few different ones and does a lot of the stuff that Jen was also talking about. And I'm with you on that one. I'll go ahead. Yeah.
In the theme, just pick something like a theme is supposed to be for the appearance of the site. Like, don't try to find a plugin or a theme that can do everything for you. Like, if you want a contact form, get a plugin that does contact forms. Like, don't try to bake it in with, especially because if you decide down the line that you want a different theme, well, then you just lost your contact form functionality. So
That's
just find a theme that just focuses on appearance and just empowers you to build something look nice.
A lot of times those themes that do, you'll find a theme that has all of those baked in, but you can't turn them off. So it's always kind of riding along with your website, and it's going to slow your website down. So that's why we kind of suggest going with a cleaner theme, starting with something simple, and then, as Travis was saying, then find those plugins, because those plugins they're basically pieces of software that are specifically built for your particular needs. So you're not pulling in a lot of other bells and whistles that you don't need, and you can add them on piece by piece as you find that you need them, and you can get the best piece of software that's available at that time to use and continue to use. And as Travis said, if you do need to change themes, it's going to go along with you because you'll have that plugin. It's not going to be tied to a specific theme.
That's kind of linked into the page builder discussion too, which is trying to get that theme that maybe you can do what you need to do in Gutenberg, because if you can do it there, then you're not really locked into any one page builder and you can float around between the themes, rather than going something with Beaver Builder and then you decide, hey, I want to move to Elementor, but now I got to figure out a way to migrate everything I've set up from one to another.
Yeah, exactly. That's where Gutenberg actually is probably a better solution for some of that, because it keeps it at least with WordPress. Not that we all recommend that, but it's a pretty good answer, I think. If you have any other questions, Neil, bring them back into our discussion. I don't know if you're actually on our call tonight or not, but if you are, toss them up there. Please ask Jim
We've got
closer to the microphone. Hang on. How's that? Is that any better, Mr. Rick? We'll let him answer in a second or two. Okay. I see there's a question in the chat, but I'm going to finish off the meetup questions first, since we only have like two more, I think, or two or three more. Marcelo Benedicto asks, I'm primarily interested in current best practices in WordPress and how to keep security up and maintenance down for my clients. We did a talk on this one as well, specifically about managing multiple websites, and that might be the best place to probably kick off from. We also have another talk that we did from the website on security best practices. So I think, let me check on the one. While we're answering that one, anything you guys can think of that you would roll off on those? As far as best practices?
Know what you're installing. Try not to, like, if you're getting a plugin, like a premium plugin directly from a site, like take a look at the site, try to find out who made it. I feel like a red flag is if they don't say who we are that made that plugin. I probably wouldn't trust them. If you're doing like a lot of custom code on your site, like a custom theme that has like advanced functionality in it that goes beyond the appearance and custom plugins, it honestly wouldn't hurt to go out and pay someone to do a security audit on it. That's a professional that can find those issues. Yeah. But otherwise, if the data is coming into your system, always sanitize it. As it's coming out, always escape it. That should cover a lot of things.
Indeed. So let me knock my sound down there. All right. Yeah, for some reason my gain is not as loud as it should be. Hang on. How about that? Louder for you guys?
I can hear it fine, but...
Okay. All right. To the other question, the talk we did was on managing multiple WordPress websites, and this is the actual web page. There's a good video in there. We had a really good long discussion on that one, and there's a nice video right here for it. And I also am going to punch the link onto the screen right now, so that if you happen to come across it, you can easily find it. Okay. All right. Going back to our questions. We have another one. Marcia asks, hi, my print magazine is uploaded to issue.com, but the pages won't resize on mobile. Please look at stpetelifemag.com on your phone and click on a headline. Only left side of the window is viewable. Any suggestions? We actually looked at this one beforehand, so I'm going to go ahead and bring that up over on the demo again. And for some reason it's actually just staying blue. Let's refresh that screen. Come on. All right, here's your magazine articles over here to the left. But when you click on them, even inside the website itself, it's actually taking you to issue.com. The problem is that you're not embedding those, and you actually need to embed those. So if you go to issue.com's website to support, they have a document specifically on embedding. Like if you type the word embed, and it'll talk about embedding videos directly, or embedding your own publication is the first one. Go there, and that explains how to get the embed code to actually put it inside your website. And then this particular article, which is linked down the side, called Resizing Embeds to be Responsive, that will walk you through making sure that the embed is responsive on your phone or otherwise. So that should answer both of those questions. If you ever run into stuff like that and you're not sure why something won't work, like if you go to SlideShare and you can't get your SlideShare thing to be responsive, go to their tech support first before coming to us, because it's usually going to be your fastest answer. Okay. All right, back to our meetup questions. Well, I think we have one more. Yeah, one more. Okay. Andy had a discussion of managed WordPress sites versus shared, and at what point would you consider one over the other? Andy, we did a talk on this one as well. It was choosing a WordPress host. And let me find the link for that one. And it basically talks about the differences between the three different setups. Now, granted, nowadays with managed WordPress hosts, you're you're not going to be in a shared pool anyway. So, hang on. Yeah, Andy, I just saw your question pop up there. Nomenclature seems to be an issue where it doesn't mean the same thing with different hosts. All right. Let me pop back over here again. And Andy, we'll readdress that one, but this is the actual, oops, wrong screen. Hang on. There we go. Okay. This is the talk we did, choosing a WordPress host Q&A. And here's the actual link for that article. And I will punch that up over the thing as well. Okay. If their discussions aren't the same, if they don't use the same nomenclature, you really need to look at their frequently asked questions and find out what they just consider one to the other one, and kind of work it from that direction.
I feel like just having the comparison be between shared and managed WordPress hosts is like leaving out this good middle tier of running your own cloud server to do WordPress hosting, which is much easier nowadays with services like Server Pilot or even SpinUp WP, which SpinUp WP will allow you to have like a DigitalOcean droplet or a Linode, or I think it like works with AWS on top of it, and it will like just function as a control panel for those cloud servers to install and manage WordPress for you. And their platforms will even handle a lot of like the security updates on the server itself.
Got it.
So like if you don't necessarily need full-on managed hosting, but you need like a little more dedicated resources than what typical shared hosting provides, that's a very good option.
Which were the two that you recommended?
That would be there's SpinUp WP, which is by the Delicious Brains folks.
Okay.
They did WP Migrate DB Pro and
Yeah.
a few other plugins. And then the other one was Server Pilot. Server Pilot is a little more generic, and SpinUp WP is like focused and designed for WordPress.
Okay,
check
so
those out.
we're done with our Meetup RSVP questions.
And then-
so now we can pop. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Travis.
I'll just expand a little more, and then on the managed WP hosting side, there's a whole sliding scale of how much attention you need for the management, and how much of a dedicated support staff and stuff. Like you might want like a little bit of hand holding where you need something like a WP engine or a flywheel, or you need something more professional kind of an enterprise like a Pagely.
Well, I know for me, like I get tired of like dealing with the whole cPanel stuff. I don't want to have to deal with it unless I want to deal with it. And so typically for me, like having it on Flywheel, like I was updating our website the other day and doing updates, and I killed it. I blew up our site, and boom, went back in, hit restore, and boom, I was back again. But I also asked them in chat, said, "Hey, the site isn't back yet," and then there it was, and they were right there, very instantly accessible. So you have to love that.
They're
kind of
like
stuff.
And then
Jimmy John's, like freaky fast with support on both WP Engine and Flywheel. Like if you think you will ever need support, like they are top-notch support. If you are unfamiliar with cPanel and unwilling to, or just don't want to put the time into learning cPanel, how databases work, I would recommend highly using them because they're going to save you a lot of time and headache. If you can, it is a more expensive service, so if you can afford that, like I would definitely recommend it.
And they know WordPress. That's the thing about it. They really
Absolutely.
do. They all know how to get to the debug, so they can tell you, hey, this is the plugin that crashed your site. I mean, I asked like she just boom, there it was. There was the logs, and then I said, wait a minute, I could have gotten this myself, couldn't I? It was right here on the advanced tab, and she said, yep, but here it is.
And by the time they did that, they probably already fixed everything, and
Yeah, exactly. It's wonderful.
it's just done for you. It's like you're trying to just ask a question of where to go to find information because it is different than cPanel.
Yeah,
and by the time they've come back with, oh, here's where it was, they probably already fixed it as well.
Well, Marcia, I don't know if you're the Marcia that asked the question about the St. Pete Life Mag, but we did answer it. So if you are and you saw it, I see you in our little chat there, and you got your question answered, let us know. The next question.
But then,
oh, go ahead.
just like wrapping up the managed hosting discussion, like at the other end of the spectrum, like if you can afford it and like those are your needs, like Pagely, they start at $4.99 a month, but they have like no tiers of support, so like everybody's on the same level. Like you will get quality, just like they will get deep in because what you're getting at Pagely is like VPSs that are just managed by them. They will get deep in the weeds of like changing the configuration as you need it on the server level, which some of those other providers like WP Engine and Flywheel, they're more like, this is our platform. Like, we won't make changes for you. Like, this is kind of what you're getting. Where Pagely will go beyond and customize it for your needs.
Yeah. And I thought you said, when you said $4.99, he means $499, not $4.99.
Yeah, $499.
Okay, I was thinking that's a really good deal.
Yeah, not the same thing. So we're going to go to our YouTube chat now and pull off the first question from there. Steve Comenzo asks, please explain the differences between taxonomies, tags, categories, custom fields, and is there any database benefit to using one or another specifically for WooCommerce? First off, WooCommerce actually does most of their actual taxonomies themselves. Their product categories, their product variations, the shipping tables, all of that stuff is actually coming directly out of taxonomies. Categories and tags are the exact same thing as taxonomies. Categories and tags are what WordPress calls, or what they initially put in directly at the post level for their categories and tags. And if you try to ever add those categories and tags to anything else, to another post type, it's not going to work unless you actually get the code to change it. Custom fields is just actual custom meta. Most fields for WordPress, for WooCommerce, are already added. And if you need to add custom meta to WooCommerce, you should be doing it using WooCommerce's methods, because you need it to integrate with the product and the order screens and all of that kind of stuff. So if you do have questions, like really deep ones like that, I can probably point you to, I mean, if you want to know more about custom post types, taxonomies, and how the data is structured, we did a talk called Plan Before You Build. It doesn't specifically cover WooCommerce, but it is very much about WordPress, custom post types, taxonomies, and all that kind of stuff. So Plan Before You Build. Let me get you the link for that one. Found it. Okay. I think. Hang on. So many talks. I know we did a talk on this. Anyone want to take the next question? Let's see. I think Andy...
Next question in here. When I visit a page on my website on mobile, the menu expands before it goes to the menu tab. What do you think I should do to fix that lag?
I've got it on the screen too for you guys. So.
Okay.
Do you have an example?
Yeah, could you send us the link?
Yeah, could you send us the link for that one? That would help. Oh, it looks like we answered Marcia's question. So that's good.
I'm guessing because that's on mobile instead of it doing the kind of interaction you would expect with a mouse, where like the hover would display the menu. The tap on it is displaying the menu, which is requiring the second tap to go to that page. That would probably end up being a theme thing. That would need adjustment.
Yeah, I think.
At least going in blind without being able to see it. That'd be my guess.
Ooh, somebody's car. That's a loud one. Okay, found it. Sorry about that taking so long. I think I found it anyway. Website's being a little slow today. That might be you, Elaine. Oh, that was you. Okay. All right. Going back to Steve, your question about structure and all that kind of stuff. That is Plan Before You Build. I'm going to pop the link up on the screen here and show it to you over here real quick. Plan Before You Build Information Architecture and Content Strategy. If you just search for Plan Before on our website, you'll find it. There's a couple of them in there. And if you have any additional questions after those, just bring them to the call. Okay, so going back to the menu one, did one. She didn't give us the link. So we do have another question. Joe Eduardo asks, "Hi there. Do you guys have any advice using PWA with WordPress?" What is PWA?
Yeah, I'm not sure what PWA is.
PWA would be progressive web apps.
Ah,
Okay.
And I don't have anything to contribute here because I've been out of that kind of game for quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't either actually, so can't really help you on either one of those. We'll throw it out
oh,
to the floor. If anyone comes up with
Yeah.
something, bring it back again.
I see the
Um,
plugin.
yeah.
Apparently, WP Engine hosts it. We'll
Okay.
host it. That's all I know from Google.
Fascinating.
Right?
So,
A font of information here today. It looks interesting. Let's check that out a little more. Code in WP apparently has some courses on it.
there you go.
Might try that.
Hey,
Updated
Marcia,
April 13th, 2020.
I added those links into our actual our YouTube chat, so you can pull them right from there. Okay. Do you think automatic? Oh, let me see. Elaine's asking an interesting question. She says, "Do you think Automatic is one of the investors who bought Meetup?" Now we're getting all political. Good question, Elaine. I have no idea. It's kind of like that whole thing, like Elementor went out and bought or forked WordPress, and that made a big deal out of that as well. And we don't know whether they're going to start creating their own WordPress.com or not, but it's going to be Elementor.com, as a standalone page builder thing. Hang on one second, I got to mute.
Bless you. I think.
That was actually a cough, but I do not have
Yeah.
COVID-19. At least I don't think I do. Yeah, Elaine, I have no idea on Automatic. I doubt it.
I would just think that Automatic would have an interest in keeping Meetup going.
Yeah, but I mean, it is going. That's the thing about it. It's still going.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't remember who the company was that took it over though, because it's not the.
They said it was a group of investors, but they wouldn't really say who they were. That's why I say, do you think it might be Automatic as one of them? As one of them.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I have no idea. If it would probably be WP Foundation and not Automatic, is my guess. The nonprofit leg, because all of the community stuff is driven through that side of the business.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly would have expected WordPress to have come up with their own solution if Meetup was going downhill, but that's just me. It seems to be working okay now. I don't mind it anyway. We got another question from the YouTube chat. Cheryl Harrison asks, "I have WP Rocket installed on my client's websites. My hosting company has a super caching program available. Do I need both?" You never want to use both. You never want to over cache. And you want to talk about that one, Travis?
If the host is providing caching, I would always rely on the host caching plugin because they're going to be doing that caching at a deeper server level because they have the hooks available to hook into that. That's about it.
Yeah. Like with WP Engine, they have their own, and they're very aggressive on object caching, and you typically don't want to work with something other than WP Engines and then or a plugin that actually works with their caching to properly deal with issues along those lines. But yeah, you can over cache. Do not install a million caching softwares on your website.
And make sure you know where the button is to clear the cache.
Yeah.
So in case like you're trying to update something with your theme and you're like, why isn't this changing? It's probably the cache.
Yeah. Well, that seems like. Let me see. Do we have any more questions in the RSVP? I'd like to say let's do a roll call, but we don't have a list of people. Yeah, Meetup.
And sometimes with caching, you might not have enough visitors to actually need caching. It might just be overkill.
True.
Like if you have the right server resources, which isn't generally like a lot, you don't need much to run a WordPress site. As long as it's well configured, you don't need caching at all.
How many visitors is a baseline then?
It all depends on the server configuration, like like if you're using Nginx versus Apache, how many CPUs are available, the RAM, and what kind of site is it? Like if it's an e-commerce site that you're getting a lot of visits on, you're gonna want like more aggressive caching on it than like a basic news site that doesn't get much activity.
Okay.
Like it's very much tailored to both the server environment and the website itself and what the website's trying to do. Because even if sometimes you might have a heavily trafficked website, but the kind of like data you're displaying might employing caching might get in the way of that and cause more problems than it's trying to solve.
Okay.
Or like instead you're trying like where instead like the solution would be instead of trying to cache things like having multiple servers set up and doing like a load balancing between them to like manage the traffic that way. But if you get to the point where like that's a problem, you want to be like going to a managed WordPress hosting solution and like they have the expertise, let them handle it.
Totally agree on that one.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, you folks, if you are here for the YouTube, make sure that you also check in over or RSVP over at the Meetup so that I can actually check you in because I'm not finding some of you folks who happen to be here on your YouTube. Not seeing any new questions. Folks, ask questions. We're still here for a little longer anyway. For at least another half an hour, if not an hour. So any projects you guys are working on that are driving you crazy at the moment? No?
I've been working
Not
with
driving me crazy, no.
Yeah. Go ahead,
I've been
Elaine.
working on a superheroes themed project.
Oh,
So
fun.
That sounds fun.
I never worked with Adobe stock photos before, but this client has an account with them. They have pretty heavy duty. I didn't realize they had such a deep base
Yeah.
of photos and vectors and everything.
Fun.
Yeah.
I've been knee deep in doing some UI redesigns, and you might look at a UI sometimes and be like, man, that thing is super simple and there's not much on the page. Man, it must have taken them 5 minutes. No, sometimes it takes like hours of discussion just to get to that point.
Yeah.
Especially on top of when you're trying to make it as accessible as possible. That like adds a whole nother layer to it.
Oh, got another question popping in from the field. Cheryl Harrison asked another question. We had a dedicated server and the hosting company forced us to move to Google Cloud over about 70 websites. Should we be looking for a dedicated server elsewhere?
You should only be looking for a dedicated server if you employ someone or contract out someone who can manage that server for you.
Yeah.
If you don't have either of those things, you should probably, especially with that many sites, you should probably go into some sort of managed host. And if you're talking dedicated, like an actual dedicated server and not like a virtual server, I would probably recommend, with that many sites, going to Pagely.
Yeah, with 70 sites.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no issue with Google Cloud. A lot of the local flywheels have gone to Google Cloud, and they seem to be more responsive and faster. I've seen no issues at all. But that's Flywheel, and I think WP Engine has done that with some of theirs too.
But it's not as simple as just going to Google Cloud and say, hey, well, host my website. You have to have like all that server configuration and making sure like the firewalls are set up and the updates are happening and everything's secure. And if you don't know how to do that yourself or can't have a resource around that's doing that for you, you shouldn't.
Yeah, I think Cheryl's issue was the fact that she didn't want to go there because they had a dedicated server.
Yeah.
And they were forcing her to go to Google Cloud. Yeah. And I guess my question would be is why were they forcing you? Was it because of what dynamic data or cloud or, like Cloudflare typey stuff or what? Because not an area where I work in. Sorry. I try not to keep all my data on the cloud.
And it also depends on like how active are those 70 sites? Like, are they all super active, or is like two of them like get crazy traffic and the other 68 are very quiet?
Yeah, because I've managed a lot of fairly static sites, and it's like, they're no brainers. They just do what they do.
Because if like that's the case, you could use like spin up WP. You can manage multiple servers with it. So you could set up a couple servers where you have your quieter sites offloaded to like small like $10 a month DigitalOcean droplets, and then have like your most active ones on like super uh like they're more expensive ones that have more CPU, more RAM.
No new questions from the field. So we were talking about UI and UXs. I tend to agree with you, Travis. It's like I had no idea that so much was involved with just the simple stuff, like looking
Yeah.
at a list of things and how you choose stuff, and going, okay, well, minus certain there was somebody redoing like the table list in WordPress, and they'd gotten rid of that little row hover underneath the title, underneath the post title, that included like add, delete, or edit or whatever, and you don't realize that you missed that because you need that. It's been there
Yeah.
and you wanted it to be there again. So
And then you run into some issues where like maybe like you have a UI element where you like need to select like 10, 15 things. And you would think like, hey, let's use a multi-select for that because you need to select multiple things. But multi-selects are inherently inaccessible. So then what do you do? It's
check
a very
boxes.
difficult question to solve.
Yeah,
And yeah.
yeah, that's a hard one. We have another question from the field. It's did one. I don't know if is that going to be like, I don't know what your actual name is. So I'm just going to call you did one. Some review website will have a clickable box for call to action. Do you suggest using a plugin to make that kind of boxes, or creating it via code? If so, which language you use? Basic HTML, CSS. Call to actions, those can be generated in your website itself. It depends on where your call to action is going to. Are you creating a fill out form to opt in for your email list? Are you, is it is a form that's going to be loading, or is it going to be taking a call to action that's going to take it to like a landing page or something of that nature? And I think that really is kind of what it depends, because you can make a button in CSS pretty easily with just like a link, and then put a class button and then just style it up to make it look like a button. Or you can add a button, because almost all the builders out there have those now. So what do you guys think, Jen?
But if you want to do like a call to action with like modal and stuff, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would probably recommend, like as I've recommended before, Pop-up Maker.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they will handle like doing those call to actions for you, and they have like a lot of like conditional stuff, so you can like decide like when the pop-up shows up, what pages, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. Optin I guess, does that too, but they're very specifically just for opting into your email list. So a
Ouch.
lot of their stuff isn't really designed to do
Yeah,
complicated forms.
yeah.
So
Pop-up Maker will do stuff around like X and 10, so if someone's trying to leave the page, it'll pop up something, that kind of
got it.
thing.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I'm not a fan of coding that kind of stuff. Mine, if I'm going to do a call to action, I kind of like do it within the flow of the page, and I'm just going to do like break it out as a section, drop a button on there, and do a hero. Most of that stuff now, especially in Gutenberg, you can build it directly in Gutenberg, especially with the new Gutenberg stuff. Yeah. If you want to do it in WordPress. So most of us are all WordPress type people, so we don't tend to focus on. But yeah, your question was like basic HTML or CSS. Yeah, I tend to prefer basic HTML, CSS. Anything beyond that, and I'm going to go use a plugin. I am, because I'm not a jQuery guy. Let's see, affiliate link. Okay, it was an affiliate link. They tend to provide you your iframe source for that. If it's an affiliate link, they'll give you what they want you to do, and most of those will actually give you a how they want that little embed code to work, depending on who it is. If yeah, no more questions, guys. It's quiet. It's quiet on the YouTube front.
It's because we're in phase one reopening. People are out and doing things when they
Yeah,
shouldn't be.
right. Sure they are. Sure they are. Won't catch me dead out there, not without like a mask and a nuclear suit, the whole bit. Isn't that right, Jen? We were out playing volleyball the other day in our space suits.
Oh yeah.
That's gonna be what's gonna happen, guys. We're all gonna be like. I was talking to my buddy who I dog walk in the morning with, and I was like talking about how this is gonna create a whole new brand of fashion, where like all of a sudden scarves are gonna be a big thing. Scarves that have like snaps that attach to your clothes so that you can automatically have a full face wrap. Hats like this will actually have like little face shields that you can pre-attach. I think goggles and scarves are going to become a new thing. Like a goggle that actually has the scarf already in it, so that you can easily attach it and detach it. I think we're going to have like the restaurants are all going to be like those that you'll roll in and you'll be in a little cubicle, and if you want to have dinner with somebody else, they're going to be on the other side of a sneeze guard. And yeah, you want to test everything's going to change. Talking to a restaurant.
I'm kind of surprised like no one has made some sort of main directory listing for all the companies out there making masks. So I was trying to like look for some like nice like cotton masks that have like a good like cone shape to it here, so it's like not riding up against your face and stuff. And like it was very difficult. Like if I didn't get a personal recommendation at work from one, I wouldn't know where to look.
It's a capitalist thing. Capitalism is going crazy with those right now. People are just like creating all the masks they can. Now, what's interesting is that I'm impressed with how many local communities are managing and keeping up to date like directories of restaurants and local businesses, and which ones are doing pickup and delivery, and which ones are kind of organizing and helping with pickup and delivery, that kind of a thing. That's kind of neat. I've been seeing a lot of that showing up as far as like people using the web in a good way for that kind of stuff. And like organizing food drop-offs and food pickups for rescue workers and healthcare workers. So that's kind of neat. But talking to restaurant folks, I mean, they're being beat to death with this 25% thing because they're having to completely redesign the inside of their restaurants, or ask the city for zoning changes so that they can pull all their tables outside, or in parking lots that they trying to like take over adjacent parking lots, so that they can at least get the number of people in to eat the food. And in Florida, in June, or May and June, that's the absolute worst time to be eating outside because it's so hot down here. But
at least it's easy for a lot of restaurants with services like Yelp that they can do like check-ins where they can be like, hey, leave, and like, well, you'll get a text immediately like as soon as your number comes up, and that way people aren't congregating inside at least for a table.
Yeah, that's true. It's been very interesting listening and watching how the folks are changing the way they're dealing with all the delivery services, because I saw an actual receipt from one where it showed how much was actually going to the delivery service and how much the restaurant was actually getting. And it was horrifying, because like on like a $1,800 bill, for the month of food, they were getting like $300. And that's disgusting. All of that was going out in like delivery service charges and stuff like that, and commissions to the delivery service. Any questions, folks? We're at 7:13. Going once, going twice. Right now we'll hang on until 7:30. I'm glad all of you folks actually dropped in, as many of you have dropped in. We're at 12 people right now. Not too bad. Make sure you RSVP for the Gravity Forms talk that's coming up, and make sure that you put any of your questions into the RSVP ahead of time so that we can have some stuff to work on right off the bat. Let's see. Did one ask, do you guys
Because I personally...
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to just say on that workshop, I don't plan on coming in with any sort of pre-planned items I'm going to talk about. It's just going to be like whatever everybody has questions about. So please bring your questions.
Okay. So did one ask, do you guys use WebP pictures or normal JPEG pictures for your WordPress pages, especially if you're going to use at least 10 pictures on one page with 500. JPEG, compressed. There's enough. Nowadays you can get like lossless compression on the JPEGs in a pretty easy way with like Smush It. or Image Optim for the Mac. There's a couple of online ones that you don't lose anything by going JPEG, but that really depends on if your picture is a photograph or type of picture. If you're talking about graphics, anything that has like vectors in it, etc., you want to go PNGs instead, typically, if you need transparency.
Well,
But don't
if it's a fully vector thing, you should be using an SVG because that
That's
will be
true.
like a very small file size and it will scale up
Yeah,
easily. For WebP, not all browsers support WebP.
yeah. Not
Like
not
Safari won't support it.
no. What do you guys use? Did want to ask another question. What do you guys use to reduce the size of pictures? Basic Photoshop or plugins like Kraken, and which one is your favorite? I use Image Optim. It's hang on. I don't know if you're on a Mac or a PC, but
If you mean like reduce the file size, yeah, Image Optim. If you're talking like reduce like the dimensions along with compressing it, I personally just use Photoshop's Save to Web and Devices thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I use Photoshop for those kinds of issues.
Yeah, and this is the one. They have a web service as well, so that's their Mac client. I just popped it over there in the thingy, and this is their web service that they also will use, which you can use. Um,
But you could load a plugin called Smush. Is it Smush or Smush
it's called
it?
Smush.
And
Smush It.
use smush all your images and then get rid of that plugin.
Yeah,
Smush.
yeah. If you've already
Once
got
you've smushed all your photos.
yeah, if you've already got an existing site with gigantic images all over it, run it through the Smush, get them all compressed down. It'll kick out anything that's too big, and then just change those. Um, yeah, I don't know of a really good one for the PC, unfortunately. I think we're
Or
on
like
Mac.
see if like some hosts will take care of that for you actually without needing a plugin.
Yeah, some will. I think most of them expect you to do it though ahead of
Uh,
time.
don't want to keep bringing it up, but Pagely does have a press out of a lot of people's price range, but Pagely has a press thumb feature that they automatically like, optimize your stuff on upload.
Gotcha.
Very
Fascinating.
handy.
That is definitely handy. Cool. Hmm. We are quiet this evening, or we're just really efficient with answering questions.
Let's go with that answer.
That's a good answer. I like that answer. We're just so efficient with answering our questions. Trying to think if there's anything else that's exciting or fun coming around. I think we're also talking about doing a Google setup kind of talk, as far as like not a beginner's guide to like Google Analytics or anything like that, but more along the lines of like all the things you kind of need to sign up for, like your Search Console, etc., for a website is one of our next planned talks as well. I think Jen's gonna do that one. Wink, wink. Right, Jen?
Possibly.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll talk about that. Yeah. I've been holding off on doing it on Tampa Bay WordPress until you're ready.
Oh, all right.
See, the key is to do it as a workshop because for
Yeah.
workshops you don't have to prepare.
That's
Good
exactly
point.
right. Yeah, exactly
Good
right.
point. Good point.
Do do any of you guys like any other SEO plugins other than Yoast?
The SEO framework seems to be pretty good.
Is that
I've
actually
been
what it's
wanting to
called?
move to it. I
SEO
just haven't had
framework?
the time.
It's
Yeah, it's called
actually
the
called.
SEO framework.
Okay. Huh. I don't
They have
know
a
that one.
few premium extensions, but it's primarily free.
Okay.
Who makes it?
It's a
It's
good
actually called
question.
the SEO framework.
Literally the SEO framework.
Yes.
It's
enough.
made by a
By
group
the
out in the
SEO framework
Netherlands.
team. Yeah. And it was last updated a week ago. Huh. Cool.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah. About 100,000
And
active
they're
On the
installations.
ball.
Good
yeah,
5-star
they're very much
reviews.
focused on being like very slim with their feature set and not trying to be bloated like some of their competitors out there.
That's actually a really good idea. I'm getting kind of
Yeah.
annoyed with the whole Yoast overkill.
Yeah, I've used
Hey,
all in
Joe.
one a little bit, but that's it. But I was looking at a new one. I think that's the one I was looking at this week just to see what it had. Is that the one? It's kind of set up on the right hand side of the
I have no
It
idea.
might
screen.
be.
It like slides in from the right instead of being at the bottom like Yoast.
I have no
I'm
clue.
not entirely sure because I
Can't
haven't
remember the
used
name of the
it
one that I was
enough
looking
yet.
at. Yeah.
Has some pretty colors. Oh, you mean like as
And
in doing
there,
it inside the dock block? You mean the new Gutenberg block area? No, it looks like it's still
Um.
down at the bottom underneath page SEO settings.
Okay.
Yeah, very few of the plugins have completely shifted over to the right hand properties settings yet.
and there is a separate from the SEO framework. There's a plugin in the WordPress repository called SEO Data Transporter that will
Never
allow
heard of that.
you to go from. They support multiple different SEO plugins, so you can move your data from one to the other.
That would be
Oh,
I think.
nice.
Let me see which ones are in the list, and I'll link it here in the chat.
Okay,
that sounds
cool. Yeah, we'll
exciting.
bring it up on the screen too. Did I bring it
Yeah,
up
No,
it
on
that's
the
good to know
other
about.
one?
supports
That was the
all-in-one
original one.
SEO, Jetpack Advanced SEO, SEO Ultimate, Yoast, SEO Framework are all on the supported plugins list,
Oh,
along
that's
with some
really good.
supported themes like Genesis, Headway, Thesis, Woo Framework.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
That's big.
It's
Rick
not
asks.
perfect. That's
Oh,
why sorry, just
no,
like
go ahead.
wrapping up. That's why I haven't moved to the SEO framework completely yet because I didn't catch everything on like some custom titles and descriptions I had set up. But it seemed for the most part that this transporter plugin got most of the stuff. Of course, as always, when you're doing stuff like this, do it on a staging install, not your live site.
Exactly. Never test
Yes,
anything on it.
definitely.
That was my big thing that I goofed up on. I was like updating all of our plugins on WordPress on WP Tampa Bay, and didn't do it on staging first. So
You
it
should know
just
better, Jim.
I knew better. That was the whole thing. I even told her. I said I knew better. God dang it! But at least I
It's
had
just
a
so tempting
backup.
sometimes,
At
though, isn't
least I
it?
had a backup. It was like
Yeah, it's
boom.
only a small change.
Yeah,
Won't
restore,
hurt
boom, got right back
anything.
again. Yeah. So Rick asked, have you talked about WordCamp? WordCamp is now streaming only. Yes, WordCamp US is now
That's a good
streaming
point.
only, which because I guess it's because it's the time window they're going to be doing it in. The nice thing about that is it's free, and honestly, they live streamed the whole thing anyway, so why not?
Right.
You know, that's kind of thing. I mean, yeah, you'll lose all of that fun little networking, but who knows? Maybe they'll open it up to having chat and stuff. I've
You can find people
gone
on
to
Twitter. Most everyone's on Twitter.
Yeah, I've gone to a couple of webinars where they've got the chat enabled and it kind of works. You can ask questions just like this. So,
Some would argue the networking is the most important part of the WordCamp,
yes, a
not the
lot of people
talks.
do. A lot of people do. So, and that's the kind of thing is like you can network. We're not, we're so connected nowadays anyway that, I mean, you actually can network pretty easily this way.
But there's a difference between like networking online and just being at a WordCamp and like walking up to a conversation and meet some new people.
Yeah, that's
It
true too.
definitely is.
Yeah. Joe told
Definitely
me that
is.
I'm still
But
being a little quiet on my mic. So, I'm
oh,
probably just not talking to it as closely as I should be talking to it.
maybe that's a fancy setup you've got there, though, Jim.
Yeah, it's kind of dangerous, isn't it?
It's a little sculpture.
Yes,
I
it's a,
know. It
it's an
does look nice.
alien creature. So here's another one. Is it better to write a reviewing article, top 10 this, as a page or a blog post? A blog post. Because then you can reuse it, you can update it later on. Anytime you're doing anything that's going to be like a top 10, that top 10 is going to change next year or,
Hmm.
2 years from now. That's why WP Beginner does that. If you've ever looked at their site, they tend to, will do like, the top 5 hosts or the top 5 this or the top 5 form plugins, and they deliberately do it so that they can consistently refresh that content over and over and over again and republish it to keep people coming back again, which is why they're always at the top of your search console or your search when you look for top 5 form plugins. Which social media sharing plugin do you guys recommend? That's a hard one. That's a I used to use Jetpack's social feature, but when Facebook turned off whatever portion of the thing they used to do, I honestly I share them naturally now. I know Jen is our social media lady, so I'll let her answer that one.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just do it natively now, just with the URL, and a lot of people are sharing from mobile, and there's features on there to share any URL from, and even if people are on a web browser, there's extensions, for your desktop. Um, so I tend to save that space just to keep the blog posts and keep the pages simpler and cleaner. And it's also one less thing to break on your website.
And on top of that, by having like those embeds in there, that's extra stuff you have to add to your privacy policy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that is true.
So if you can avoid doing that, it's recommended.
Yeah. Well, are you talking about like social share of your articles out? Because I guess that's kind of the thing too. Because you use Buffer and Hootsuite and stuff like that, don't you, for those?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're just looking to schedule your own social media sharing, then yeah, I would look at Buffer, Hootsuite, something to that effect, a platform to that effect.
I
If that's
can't
what you're asking.
name any specifics off the top of my head, but there's also like some plugins out there that will integrate with your WordPress workflow. They can schedule the tweeting right from like the WordPress post.
Yeah, that was Jetpack Social, and then of course there's like the Facebook Live or the Facebook plugin and the Twitter plugin and all the ones like that. But yeah, if you're looking for just one, Jetpack did it, but I'm getting to the point where I'm pulling back from doing as much Jetpack
Yeah.
stuff as well. Yeah, because it would Jetpack basically is their social share. You would log into it, connect it to your group page or your page, your Twitter, and whatever you wanted to socially push out to, and when you published, it would automatically do that publish for you. Kind of like even this automatically tweets. I didn't even set it up. I just connected and boom, it takes care of it for it. So when we go live, it automatically tweets that we're going live. So
Mhm.
let's see. Any other questions, folks? We're at 7:30.
And the one I was thinking of was Post Promoter Pro.
Post Promoter Pro. Oh, I've heard of
Yeah.
that one. Do they have a free version?
I am not sure.
I'm
So I've not
checking.
used it directly.
I'm checking. Post Promoter Pro. Yeah, I only see Pro. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's just their tweet. That's just their Twitter handle. Ooh, I don't like that page. It's got an error.
Well,
It's got a
Travis,
certificate error.
Travis,
Yeah.
Yes.
headed towards our Gutenberg talk in a few weeks. In general, do you have any statements to make about Gutenberg? I remember a talk a couple years ago, and everybody was kind of down on Gutenberg, and a lot has happened between now and then and now. So, just do you have any sweeping statements to get us excited about this Gutenberg talk we're going to have in June?
My sweeping statement would be outside of having to build blocks for work and like handling any bug fixes that come up for those blocks, I do not use Gutenberg.
And that's kind of the thing. Unless you're building websites, you don't have much of a need for it. I mean, even like creating a post, I tend to go straight to the classic editor still. If I don't have a need to like create like a layout in the page, I'm not going to typically use the Gutenberg block editor either. So
And even then, like I redid the For Gravity site recently, and normally I would do a lot of that stuff with meta boxes. But like with blocks, like if I want to do some of that, it would require custom blocks, which would require writing custom JavaScript and PHP for it. And I'm the only one editing it. So what ended up happening was I just wrote the raw HTML in the template file and just like forwent everything else. So why bother?
and for me, it's like I've started playing with the generate blocks. That the same. It's basically a blocks add-on for a Gutenberg block add-on by the guy that writes Generate Press, the theme that I like and that most of us are actually using. And or I've sold Jennifer and Elaine on Generate Press and how fun it is. He wrote a blocks add-on that's actually really nice. It's very clean, very thin. Does not take up much. What do you call it? Overhead on the publishing and stuff, and it works. I'll be showing it off when I do the talk on Gutenberg as well. So, at least a little bit.
Good. Good.
I've got to show off their blocks first. Obviously the hero block and all of the new blocks that were added in the last version of WordPress update. I still use the Gutenberg plugin, and I would kind of recommend that if you're going to be playing with Gutenberg. You want to definitely have the Gutenberg plugin installed because you'll always get the bleeding edge updates. It has become much easier to work in. That's the one thing I have to say for it. My biggest issue with it before was being able to target and find where my content is going and move content around, and that's become a lot easier to work with the new block editor and the block navigator and the little thing at the bottom that tells you where you are and all that kind of stuff. But we'll go over that next month.
And I've just gone in the completely other direction where I go classic editor in text view in writing Markdown.
Yeah,
which I know Jim's a big fan of.
I hate writing Markdown. We all of our documentation at Gravity Forms is in Markdown, and I want to rip my head off every time we're in there because I like to see what I'm typing change. I like to see my links. I need to see what it looks like. I need to see, does this paragraph look too long? How's the spacing on that? Should that image be smaller? And I can't see any of that when I'm physically inside Markdown, and you can't do anything with image sizing in Markdown as far as right align or left align and that kind of stuff is WordPress. So why would I do that in Markdown?
You just center align all your images. Problem solved.
Yeah, nuh-uh. Sometimes. Yeah, nuh-uh. Let's see. We're at 7:31, guys. We're gonna keep going, or we're gonna kill it.
I think we're out of questions.
We're out of questions.
We are out of questions.
Okay,
then. Thank you, everyone, all of you St. Petersburg, Tampa, wherever you're coming from, people, for coming out. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Those little things down on YouTube below. This will be edited. I'll probably chop off the beginning, fix any audio, and republish it in a day or two, so that if you need to re-reference it, it'll be much easier to get around. And be here in 2 weeks on May 19th for our talk on Gravity Forms. Okay? I'm going to kick off our end video, and thank you, Travis. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Elaine, for coming out and hanging out here as long as you have.
Guys.
Yeah, thanks for doing this.
No problem. It looks like we're going to be trapped in the quarantine world for at least another month, so we'll be doing
a little bit
for
longer.
a little bit longer. So, all right.
I'll be trapped in the quarantine world as long as possible if it means I don't have to drive down to St. Pete for these meetups.
There you go. Yeah, it could become a thing if we get enough people interested in it. We'll keep doing these, and then we'll just do meetup in persons when we just want to hang out. So anyway,
sounds good.
Thank you, everyone. Be safe. Stay safe. Don't start socially undistancing until you're ready. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for watching our recorded session from WordPress St. Pete Meetup. We meet twice a month on the first and third Tuesdays in downtown St. Pete at the Suncoast Developers Guild. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube and be sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new videos are added. Find out more about WordPress St. Petersburg at our website at wptampabay.org.